So I think we're ready. We're good. It's bright in here, isn't it? Woo, I can really see what's going on. I can see the nutmeg. Welcome everyone into the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live and we are going to have fun. It is the Christmas holidays, and so sometimes we actually try to have content that fits it. I know it's hard to believe. Before I forget, next week, Rick and Hillary in the Nutmeg Tavern. We're going to be having live music and all that good stuff, and we're going to try really hard to have like microphones that make it so you can hear everybody and all that. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not promising anything. You know what, with technology and all that good stuff. We even had to fight it earlier, but we got it. So what do you think? Do we have enough lighting in here? Yes. Lauren was like, how are we going to decorate? How about 1 million candles?
It'll look great.
Okay, we can do that. 1 million candles, as long as I don't have to light them. So, we talked about Christmas here in the past, and Christmas is so much different in the 18th century than it is in this 21st century now. That really is kind of an outworking of both Dickens and his reviving of Christmas tradition, and also some other things like the commercialization of Christmas and the cosmopolitan nature of our culture and the kind of wrapping in other cultures' Christmas traditions. So we have this kind of hodgepodge, very kind of developed Christmas that is very different from what's going on in the 18th century. And it's hard to even know the difference between the Christmas traditions, say, in the specific English cultures of the 18th century and in the cultures of North America in the 18th century. So we're going to do our best, but we have to realize that it's not a all-encompassing kind of simple, easy to digest Christmas traditions everywhere. But and the interesting fun thing is we can also kind of connect with our each individual family's traditions of what happens at Christmas, right? So each family kind of has the things they do, like the movies they watch or the whatever. You know, some people, they want to watch a certain, version of A Christmas Carol, or they watch Elf or The Lord of the Rings at Christmas time, or whatever it is, right? One of the traditions that is a Townsend family tradition is listening to Dylan Thomas's A Child's Christmas in Wales. So that is, his reading of it is amazing, and there have been some adaptations of it that are fun too. I prefer to listen to him, but he's talking about the Christmas traditions of Wales when he was a child. So I think he did the reading in the 50s, and I think he died in his 50s. So it was probably like he was hearkening back to the 1920s or 30s. I don't know exactly what date he was, trying to, give us an idea of what Christmas was like and when. But let me read to you just this little section here, and then I'll connect it to what we're going to be doing here. The silent one-clouded heavens drifted onto the sea. Now we were snow-blind travelers, lost on the North Hills, and vast dew-lapped dogs with flasks around their necks ambled and shambled up to us, baying Excelsior. We returned home through the poor streets where only a few children fumbled with bare red fingers in the wheel-rutted snow and catcalled after us, their voices fading away as we trudged uphill into the cries of the dock-birds and the hooting of ships out in the whirling bay. And then, at tea, the recovered uncles would be jolly, and the ice cake loomed in the center of the table like a marble grave. Auntie Hannah laced her tea with rum because it was only once a year. Bring out the tall tales now, we were told by the fire as the gas light bubbled like a diver. Ghosts wooed like owls in the long nights when I dared not look over my shoulder. Animals lurked in the cubbyhole under the stairs where the gas meter ticked. And I remember that we went singing carols once when there wasn't the shaving of a moon to light the flying streets. And he goes on and on. What I wanted to connect here was the idea of telling ghost stories at Christmas. Apparently, an English tradition. Don't know that it carried on too much in North America, but here in the early 20th century, he's talking about this tradition of telling ghost stories at Christmas, and it is very much a tradition that is in the 18th century English tradition. And if we think about it, that's exactly what's happening in A Christmas Carol too with Dickens, right? So, we think of it as, oh, isn't that clever? He had these ghosts of Christmas past come and kind of moralize Scrooge and make him change his ways and think about, his life and change, it's like a little moral tale, right? And the ghosts are trying to convince him of that. Well, that is not new. Dickens is not inventing anything at all here. Because that tradition of telling moralizing stories at Christmas time and ghost stories at Christmas time is very much an English tradition, probably 17th century, definitely 18th century. So if we read things, in fact, it's the few things that you will actually find when you search Christmas for English literature in the 18th century. So you'll find things, Christmas tales, and they will be little moralizing stories or ghost stories that are meant to be told to children at Christmas time. Probably because, the sun's going down. There's time while it's still dark to before everybody's going to bed to tell these little stories and try to, have fun and try to raise your children right by telling them stories about how bad things happen to bad people or good things happen to good people, or when they act good, I guess. I don't know. Does that make sense? So we found a couple little books on that in the time period. One of them, what's the title of that one?
I don't know
the one title. I put the link in the description.
Okay, hold on just a second.
So maybe you can pop that up. So I did put a link to one of these books in the description, and I'm trying to remember the title of it.
It's Round About Our Coal Fire.
Right. So Round About Our Coal Fire, and it's got some of these old stories. Now, this one, he actually talks about some of the traditions that are going on at the time and traditions that were earlier than the 18th century. And I think this was this one the 1732 one? So, anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, 1732. And here is the little first section. Of mirth and jollity, Christmas gambols, eating, drinking, and kissing, etc. First, acknowledging the sacredness of the holy time of Christmas, I proceed to set forth the rejoicings which are generally made at the great festival. You must understand, good people, that the manner of celebrating this great course of holidays is vastly different now to what it was in former days. There was once upon a time hospitality in the land. Apparently wasn't very hospitable then. An English gentleman at the opening of the great day had all his tenants and neighbors enter his hall by daybreak. The strong beer was broached, and the blackjacks went plentifully about with toast, sugar, nutmeg, and good Cheshire cheese. And blackjacks are mugs, right? The rooms were embowered with holly, ivy, cypress, bays, laurel, and mistletoe, and a bouncing Christmas log in the chimney glowing like cheeks of a country milkmaid. It's kind of hard to read here. There was the pewter as bright as Clorinda, and every bit of brass polished as the most fine gentlemen. The servants were then running here and there with merry hearts and jolly countenances. Everyone was busy in welcoming the guests and looked as smug as new-licked puppies. The lasses were as blithe and buxom as maids in good Queen Bess's day, when they ate sirloins of roast beef for breakfast. Peg would scuttle about to make a toast for John, while Tom run harum-scarum to draw a jug of ale for Marjorie. Gaffer Spriggins was bid thrice welcome by the squire, and Gamma Niger, or it's in italics, so it's hard to read, did not fail of a... No, I can't read him. In the memory of things past, while his son and heir was mouseling and tousling the blooming beauties of the tenant's daughters. In a word, the spirit of generosity ran through the whole house. So they go through all these kind of things that are going on. Let's see, there's some description here. The tables were all spread from the first to the last. The sirloins of beef, the minced pies, the plum porridge, the capons, turkeys, geese, and plum puddings were all brought upon the board, and everyone who had sharp stomachs and sharp knives ate heartily and were welcome, which gave rise to the proverb, "Merry in the hall, where the beards wag all." Okay. Then there were turnip spits employed, who by the time dinner was over would look as black and as greasy as a Welsh porridge pot. But the jacks have since turned them all out of doors. The geese which used to be fattened for the honest neighbors have been late sent to London, and the quills made into pens to convey away the landlord's estate. So it's like bad things are happening here. The sheep are drove away to raise money to answer the loss at a game of dice or cards, and the skins made into parchment for deeds and indentures. Nay, even the poor innocent bee, who was used at least to pay his tribute to the Lord once a year in good metheglin for the entertainment of the guests, and its wax converted into beneficial plasters for the sick neighbors, is now used for sealing the deeds to his disadvantage. It's bad. It's like everybody is Scrooge. Now, isn't it funny that everybody is always saying, Christmas back then was great, Christmas today is terrible, and everything is all commercialized. I mean, they're saying it here in 1732. Christmas today is so commercialized. Let's see, where is that one? A postscript. A merry gentleman of my acquaintance desires that I will insert that the old folk in the days of yore kept open house at Christmas out of interest, for then, he says, they received the greatest part of their rents in kind, such as wheat, barley, or malt, oxen, calves, sheep, swine, turkeys, capon, geese, and such like. And they, not having room enough to preserve their grain or fodder, enough to sustain their cattle or poultry, nor markets to sell the overplus, were obliged to use it in their own houses by treating the people of the country, gained credit amongst them, and riveted the minds and good wills of their neighbors firmly to them, that no one durst venture to oppose them. The squire's will was done whatever came on it. Nay, even if he would ask a neighbor what o'clock it was, they returned with a low scrape, "'Tis what your lordship pleases." And the dancing and the singing of the benchers in the great inns of court in Christmas is in some sort founded upon interest, For they hold, as I am informed, one privilege by dancing about the fire in the middle of the hall and singing songs round about our coal fires, etc. So, now, look, that's a cynical look at, or, a cynical take on why they did that. So I guess they had to just ruin it, right? Saying, well, in the past, they did all those wonderful things because,
Well, he's kind of veering it a little cynically, but on the other hand, you're like, well, they had a lot of surplus and they really didn't have a way to store it. So they just had really big parties. Like,
yeah.
that is, still a fun thing to do.
Right. You have plenty, then let's do it. So let's jump into, I've got a very, very few images here. I found this, which is a printing in 1786 for Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And so they were, would print this and hand it out on, so it says to be sung at St. John's on Christmas Day and on the Sunday following. So just 2 Sundays, they're just going to sing this song, and they give us the lyrics here. And it is one of those, a lot of the Christmas carols are, the older ones are specifically 18th century in their context. So this one is.
I'm surprised all the words are exactly as I know them, because lots of Christmas carols.
Yeah, have been morphed over the years.
Yeah.
Or the vocabulary got updated a bit or something like that, yeah.
Right. So there it is from 1786. Now he mentioned in the stories the mistletoe hanging up, and this is from, actually, again, I think this is about 1786 or so. It's a set of 4 images, and I think it's seasons of the year. This is the winter one with Christmassy theme, and there is the mistletoe hanging up there in the drawing room, or whatever room that these people are, I don't know, partying in, if there's, for lack of a better term. So there are not a lot of specifically Christmas pictures. You just
No, and we were talking about it earlier today about, for them, the last day of Christmas was actually a bit more of
a lot more.
like they would reference that a bit more, right? They're referencing Twelfth Night more.
Right.
And some of the things that we associate with Christmas, they would be on Twelfth Night instead. So for them, it kind of would start at Christmas Eve decoration, and then you do have Christmas, and then it kind of go through Twelfth Night. And so,
and you like don't see New Year's Day things. You do
not
see
really. Yeah, it's like it was all part of the same holiday.
Right. And in some references where you look for the word Christmas, and you just you'll find a lot of references to, like, it will say something like they'll use it for accounting, from Christmas to Christmas. So they don't say the calendar year. Their calendar year would start and stop at Christmas. So
it's a solstice. So.
Right, exactly.
Makes
so
sense.
It's like from Christmas
It's
17
easy to know what day it is.
to Christmas this year. These things happen. So it isn't January 1st, it's Christmas Day. Anyway, so there you go. There are some of these images that we do see that are like, Lauren thinks it's asparagus, and I think they're matches. I think this is, and matches in the time period weren't necessarily wooden sticks with a stuff on the end of them which you rubbed and would light up, but were sometimes just little. Basically, they would call them in the time period spiles, where you take a little piece of paper and you twist it into a tube, and you use that for moving fire from one spot to another. And these, I believe, are those, sometimes called matches. And the tradition of the match girl, something very, very inexpensive that you could sell. People would use them, and it would be a way to, basically give money to people. And here we've got, cold people. Notice these capes, which we sell capes just like that. Short capes, and
they sure do make the weather better if you have a nice cape.
Exactly. So there's that. And that's not what I wanted. Hold on. No, Okay, there we go. Another thing to remember about Christmas is that the reason why it is the way it is in the 18th century is because in the 17th century, with the English Civil War, there was an attack on Christmas celebration.
And wait, you say an attack, and you're like, well, they were pretty rowdy.
Right. So Christmas it got out of hand, and so there were certain people that said, "Hey, you've lost the message of Christmas here. So much so you've damaged it so much that we should shun it in any but just a typical Sunday kind of a day, right?" And there was that reaction where it was like, no, it's against the law to celebrate Christmas, and that was there for a while, and then people reacted to that again, right? And so it definitely kind of moved around what people thought about Christmas, what it was, what they should be doing. There are some people even today, it's like Christmas is not what it should be, right? And that was definitely going on in the time period. So that little thing, that was from, let's see, 1676, something like that. This is some years after the English Civil War when there's a revival. So the Protestants, nonconformists here. So I noticed that it says against nonconformists and others who are complaining. So the Anglican Church, or not the Anglican Church, what do I want to say? Anyway, the English Church at the time was kind of like repressed, and then it came back. And when it comes back, Christmas kind of comes back, but everybody's still wary.
Yeah, they're kind of they go back into it a little gentler this time around.
Or at least they don't say what they're doing.
I'm wondering whether it just kind of dropped out of like everyone was still having parties, but they didn't write about it as much. They're like, let's do it low key.
So
but they were still having fun. Okay, I'm going to drop into some super chats because a couple of them pertain to this part of it. Okay, so the first one is from Mandatory Carrie. Thank you. Working will catch rerun. Sorry. So we'll watch later. Sounds good. Thanks, Mandatory Carrie. And then Max Arcool sent in some gift memberships.
Thank you.
And then Spin Style Tony sends in a super chat. Since different cultures had different views about Christmas, were there conflicts in the colonies?
I will say likely, but I'm not sure in how you would see that outworking.
And then the Waits Experience sends in a donation, so thank you.
Thank you.
And then this is from, I think it's Kingdom Minded Warrior. Do you have any information about the observance or celebration of the actual 12 days of Christmas Day until Epiphany, December 25th to January 5th?
Yeah, so, you see Christmas Day things specifically, and you see Epiphany things, but I don't know about seeing things, those
the 12 days. I would love to come across a piece that kind of broke it down and like gave you an idea of the cadence of that, but I haven't run across anything specifically.
So we don't have anything off the top of our heads on
because
that.
If you did, then you could do it. It'd be great. And then Stonecutter 2 sends in some gift memberships.
More gift memberships. People are giving gifts right here.
Because it's Christmas time.
That's right.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. So while we're talking about memberships and things like that, so we do have a few new members. So obviously we're going to have a bunch of new members here because we got these gifts. But in this past week, Melissa Blackbird, Shelley Medford, Jessica Ristoff, Gabrielle Laura, and Ryan Green are new and renewing YouTube members. I didn't have any brand new Patreon members, but I want to thank people specifically for caring for us and helping us out. Not only are you gifting memberships to other people, but of course that helps the channel directly. So thank you very much for that. Let's see. So this, I'm going to save this one, which is out of that Round the Coal Fire. But this other book was called Christmas Tales, and it is not tales about Christmas, but tales you would tell at Christmas. And it is definitely, they were meant for children because they're much more obviously moral. The moral of the story is, right? they don't. It's like they don't try to make it subtle.
It's
at
not
all.
obscure, right?
The bad person gets bad thing anyway. So this story popped out. This was story number 10. This is it says Hancho, a king. Hacho. There's no N there. Hacho, or Hacho, king of Lapland, was in his youth the most renowned of the northern warriors. His martial achievements remained engraved on a pillar of flint in the rocks of Henga, and are to this day solemnly caroled by the harp by the Laplanders at the fires with which they celebrate their nightly festivals or festivities. His temperance and severity of manners were his chief praise. In his early years, he never tasted wine, nor would he drink out of a painted cup. He constantly slept in his armor with his spear in his hand, nor would he use a battle axe whose handle was inlaid with brass. Obviously, he was down to earth kind of a guy. He did not, however, persevere in his contempt of luxury, nor did he close his life with honor. Oh, we're getting a little ahead here. One day, after hunting the guyus, or wild dog, being bewildered in a solitary forest, and having passed his fatigues of the day without any interval of refreshment, i.e., hadn't had anything to eat, he discovered a large store of honey in the hollow of a pine tree. This was a dainty which he had never tasted before, and being at once both faint and hungry, he fell greedily upon it. From this unusual delicious repast, he received so much satisfaction that at his return home he commanded honey to be served up at his table every day. This is leading to a bad thing. His palate by degrees became refined and vitiated, or something like that. He began to lose his native relish for the simple fare and contracted a habit of indulging himself in delicacies. He ordered the delightful gardens of his castle to be thrown open, in which the most luscious fruits had been suffered to ripen and decay, unobserved and untouched for many a revolving autumn, and gratified his appetite with luxurious desserts. At length he found it expedient to introduce wine as an agreeable improvement or a necessary ingredient to this new way of living, bad way of living. And having tasted it, he was tempted by a little to give loose to the excesses of intoxication. Listen, children. His general simplicity of life was changed. He perfumed his apartment by burning the wood of the most aromatic fir, and commanded his helmet to be ornamented with beautiful rows of teeth of reindeer. Okay? Indolence and effeminacy stole upon him by pleasing and imperceptible graduations, relaxed the sinews of his resolution, and extinguished his thirst of military glory. Whilst Hacho was thus Immersed in pleasure and repose, it was reported to him one morning that the preceding night a disastrous omen had been discovered, and that bats and hideous birds had drank up the oil which nourished the perpetual lamp in the temple of Odin. Bats and birds. Anyway, about the same time a messenger arrived to tell him that the king of Norway had invaded his kingdom with a formidable army, and Hacho, terrified as he was with the omen of the night and something like that, with indolence, roused himself from his voluptuous lethargy and recollected some faint sparks of veteran valor and marched forward to meet the king of Norway. Both armies joined battle in the foremost, where Hacho had been lost after hunting. So it's the very spot where he found the honey.
We've come full circle.
That's right. And it so happened the king of Norway challenged him to single combat near the place where Hacho had tasted the honey. The Lapland...
See, they're making sure it's not obscure.
The Lapland chief, languid and long unused to arms, was soon overpowered. He fell to the ground, and before his insulting adversary struck his head from his body, he uttered this exclamation that the Laplanders still use as an early lesson to their children. The virtuous man should date his destruction from the first temptation. How justly do I fall a sacrifice to sloth and luxury in the place where I first yielded to those allurements which seduced me to deviate from temperance and innocence. The honey which I tasted in this forest, kill him already. The honey I tasted in this forest, and not the king of Norway, conquers Hacho. It was the honey that conquered him, not the king of Norway. See?
Moral of the story, never eat honey, ever.
Yes,
Don't
that's
do
the
it.
moral of this. No honey.
Don't do it. Don't do it. There was another story in the book, which I will not read, because we don't have enough time on the planet. And it had to do, it was like a retelling, or maybe a first telling, of the Arabian Nights Aladdin's lamp story. So a wealthy person stays at the house of some old widow who has very little, and he really likes, he is impressed with the way she cared for him, even though, you know, she was very, very poor. And so he says that he will take her son into his household and, you know, take care of him. And so the son goes off to this rich man's household, and the son constantly is saying how thankful he is. And the rich man finally says, you know, actions are much more important than words. So I'm going to ask you to do a thing. And if you do it well, then I know that you're truly thankful. And so they go out into the desert, and he does something, and he opens up this portal in the sand, right? The cave opens up, and he asks the person, the son, to go down into the cave and to get this iron lampstand that has 12 arms to it. It's an iron lampstand. And the boy goes down in there, and there are riches and all this good stuff. And something happens, and he gets lost. He's, of course, at first he forgets what he's doing, because he's, like all these candles here. He's amazed by the riches around him. But he sees the candlestick, and he remembers what he's supposed to be doing, so he grabs it. And he, through a long, arduous journey, comes out at a different place, and he looks all over for his benefactor and could not find him. So he goes back home to his mother's house. He tells her the story, and they experiment with the iron lampstand, and they light one part of it, and some kind of genie or something, I can't remember the term he used for it, but pops out and is spinning around, and at some point after like an hour or something, a little coin flies out, and then it disappears. And so they continue to do this day after day, getting this one little coin, and surviving upon that. But after a while, he decides that he will go and find the benefactor and give him this lampstand. And he arduously figures out how to find him again. You wouldn't think it was that hard because he lived with him, but whatever. He finds him and he presents the lampstand to him. And the person, it was like, if you really knew what this would do, you wouldn't give it back to me, because you were using it all wrong, right? And so he lights all 12 of them. 12 of these genie things pop up. He takes a switch or a stick or something, I can't remember, he described it, but he hits them, and they turn into piles of diamonds. So, and he says, oh, you can just do this every day. You can giant piles of diamonds.
Why did he need the lampstand at all? Like, if he knew what it did, then he would have had those diamonds left over. I don't know that he needed any more.
Yeah, exactly. He was already super rich anyway. But he says, you've been good. I'm going to send you off with one of my finest horses and a servant, and like a couple of chests of jewels and stuff, and send you back home to your mom, because you were good. And this so-called good servant decided in the night before he was off that maybe it wasn't enough. The horse and the jewels weren't enough, so he's going to go and he's going to take the lampstand too. So he steals back the lampstand, and he goes home with the horse, the servant, and the jewels to his mom's, and they're like, woohoo! And they light the 12 things on there, and the genies pop up, and he goes to hit them, but apparently he's left-handed instead of right-handed. He hits them with the left hand, and instead of turning into piles of jewels, they pop out and they steal all his money, all the jewels and the horses and disappear. And so they're left destitute again.
The moral of this story is to not be left-handed.
And there you go. Obviously, Ivy isn't the person to read you moral stories.
No, I'm the interpreter of these stories. What do you mean?
Okay. Anyway, that was one of and there were a lot of the tales were foreign tales. Apparently, people in England in the 18th century couldn't learn from, their own kind. It's like they'll tell stories about people in China or India or something else.
Like, not even France. You're like, we got to go far afield. Let's make it feel really, exotic and fun.
Yeah, only those people could have these strange moral things happen to them. Us,
Right, you're like, who's to say there aren't whirling dervishes out there, right? You're like, I've never been there.
That's right. Maybe that's it. It's like, since they didn't know. So this is from the coal, around the coal fire. Of Christmas gambles and diversions of the holidays. This time of year being cold and frosty, generally speaking, or when Jack Frost commonly takes us by the nose, diversions are within doors, either in exercise or by the fireside. Dancing is one of the exercises chiefly mall, pearly, or the blackjack or the black joke. These dances stir the blood and give the males and females a fellow feeling of each other's activities, abilities, and agilities. Cupid always sits in the corner of the room where these are transacting and shoots quivers full of arrows at the dancers, making their own game of them. Then comes mumming or masquerading, when the squire's wardrobe is ransacked for dresses of all kinds, and the coal hole searched around, or corks burnt to black the faces of the fair and make deputy mustachios, and every one of the family, except the squire himself, must be transformed from what they were, and then begins the freedom between one and the other to be sprinkled about the hall, and every one shows their wit according to their capacity. And then a dance again, and a good hearty pull or two at the silver tankard of strong beer, made woundy good, with sugar and nutmeg. So I have to have nutmeg.
Make sure.
Then Jenny gives you a jig, which is proportionately good as it makes her bound to sweat. Doll, in her way, gives you a double current and turns around 50 times in a minute till most of them are drunk enough and reel home or lie down in the barn. Or else there is a match to blind man's buff, and then it is lawful to set anything in the way of the folks who tumble over, whether to break arms or legs or heads. And 'tis no matter, for neck or nothing, the devil loves no cripples. This play, I am told, was first set on foot by the country bone setters, who, like some surgeons, when they first set up business in the country, provide 2 or 3 figures or poxes to pox the parish, both very necessary steps toward gaining good business. And let's see. And as for Puss in the Corner, that is a very harmless sport, and one may ramp at it as much as one will. When even at this game a man catches his woman, he must kiss her till her ears crack, or will be disappointed. The next game is to this is questions and answers, when the commander may oblige his subject to answer any lawful question and make the same obey him instantly under the penalty of being smutted or paying such forfeit as may be laid on the aggressor. Let's see, is there another one? Hoops. As for the game of hoops and hide, the parties have the liberty of hiding where they will in any part of the house, and it should be proved. Well, the more kissing. So there you go. Most of the other diversions are cards and dice, but they are seldom set on foot unless a lawyer is at hand to breed some dispute. And then there we come full circle. Now I come to another entertainment frequently used, which is the storytelling order vis-a-vis of hobgoblins, witches, conjurers, ghosts, fairies, and such like disturbers. So there we go. So lots of some of those traditions that, I don't know, we don't have that much, but we'll have Christmas parties and games at them, right?
Yeah, I was wondering if some of them still were lingered longer in England, and whether we kind of had our own traditions that somebody was mentioning that ours, maybe from the Dutch might have kind of taken over in certain areas, especially in our area a little bit more.
Well, we can definitely see, so this was, again, like 1736. And when we see Scrooge's Christmas Carol, he's writing that in 1846, I think, or something. I can't remember exactly when he's writing that. But he is hearkening back at least a generation, and possibly even as far back as the late 18th century. And we're seeing some of the exact same things going on. Like at Fezziwig's party, right? The dancing and the thises and that's, and that sort of thing is continuing to happen. That's, let's say, 50 to 60 years after what this was written, and within that gap between the late 18th century and what happens, when Dickens writes A Christmas Carol, a lot of those things have disappeared. So he's writing that and he's telling those stories so that people will remember them. And, if they were super common in the day, he wouldn't bother to write them like the way he did, so that they're being remembered again. And then that sparks some of that same kind of, oh, that's what Christmas is like. And the same thing, I think, was last year. Didn't we do the Christmas remembrances from Washington Irving?
And I think it's fun that we still do that, where you kind of go. Somebody was talking earlier about going and finding Christmas traditions to celebrate, and a lot of them are historical. You're like, you find one that you had never heard of that sounds great, and you kind of add it into your traditions.
Right, and I do believe that Dickens was very influenced by Washington Irving and what he did with that Christmas story. Yeah. So it's very interesting to see all that kind of jumping generations and being revived and, circling back around and back around. So
I've got a couple questions here.
Yes.
And comments and such. So this is a member chat from Stonecutter 2, member for 66 months. Season's greetings to Townsends and the Tavern.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then this super chat is from Hunter, and it's, would you please address the myth of the Hessians drinking on Christmas before the Battle of Trenton?
Well, I wish I knew more about that one. So I don't have any specific, if I was guessing, I would say they were probably partying. But exactly what happened there, I don't know. I'm not sure quite what you're referring to. But definitely, if you got a link or something, pop it in there so that people can
know
and about
that. As a side comment, I don't know if you can put links in the chat, but if you put it in the comment section, it won't show it right away, but it'll just hold it, and I'll be able to see it later and release it. So if that ever comes up for anyone, you can do that. Okay, so this one is from Jaji. Buy a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop for the Townsend's crew. Thank you
very, very much.
And then this is a member chat from El Nigini, member for 51 months. Hello, everyone. Happy holidays.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, it is a fun time of year. It does give us it's kind of a forced rest on the land, right? So we get the winter time and we have to change our habits. We can't work. Well, we can work until sundown, but sundown's like 4 o'clock. So, and you can't just go to bed at 4 o'clock, even though we might want to sometimes. So it's kind of a forced time that people get to interact more in a different way. And so we can see some of these traditions naturally occurring because of the season. And we get this, again, with the abundance, like the person saying, oh, they did these things because of they were getting paid in kind with all these things and they couldn't store them. And so they would have a big party instead. It's like, yeah, this all works together. It's a good thing. Did you have something?
Somebody was Jaji was saying he had looked at his member and it was 64 months. Yikes,
64 months,
right? Like,
there we go.
You didn't know that much time had passed.
It is incredible how long we've been doing the live stream. So we did it for who knows how long before we even had the memberships, and we kept. People have been members for 66 months?
Right.
How many? That's like 5 years.
And you're like, I guess it has been that long.
How does this even work? I am always amazed by when I think about it, that we started the channel at the very end of 2008. It's going to be 20 years before you know it.
Yep. Before we know it, that's
wow.
true.
Literally, wow. Anyway, I am done. Do we have anything else that we need to cover?
Member chat from Lance Gentle. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Remember, the live stream next week's live stream will be Rick and Hillary in the tavern. Bar any strangeness.
Weather.
Weather, who knows what? Because who knows what's going on with the weather, but that's the plan for that. We have not. We're still wondering about the Boxing Day episode and what that could be, and we haven't come up with that.
We'll figure it out.
Who knows? But fun cooking episodes coming up. I want to thank everyone for their very, very kind support of what we do here on the channel in so many different ways. I know a bunch of you have gotten Nutmeg Tavern mugs to give away for Christmas, or you got T-shirts or whatever, or just plain your Patreon members or Super Chat. So thank you for, again, your direct care of us, your kind sort of being part, your participation. Even you're just coming into the chat and being part of what we do is a lot of fun. And so I hope you have an incredible Christmas season and a great weekend. I want to thank you all for watching today.